Hello, everyone out there. Thank you so much for coming to the Under the Radar very first artist conversation that we are having on our opening night. My name is Kelly Kerwin, and I am the associate producer for the Under the Radar Festival. And I am thrilled and honored to introduce the artists that I have here virtually with me in my living room. We have Taby McGar and Tyler Dabrowski. We also have Peter Mark Kendall and Whitney White. So together, all four of these people made the amazing mixed media video concert genre-defying piece called Capsule that I hope you were able to watch beforehand. If not, it is on demand now and ready for you to go experience. Whitney and Peter are on it. They, wrote the music together. They're the performers. And we also have Tyler and Taby behind the scenes as the directors and producers. So I am thrilled to open up a little conversation with them. For those watching at home, please use the YouTube chat to chat in some questions, and we can have a little convo. But first things first, you made a piece for right now. You made something now, and I feel like it would be remiss if we don't take a moment to talk about now and talk about kind of the events of today and just like how you're feeling. If you have anything you're feeling as an artist or as a human in this moment, like maybe just take a second to kind of get it off your chest and open your heart and commune together.
Pretty angry and disgusted and very disappointed, but not surprised. It was a little hard. Honestly, I feel like to be honest, all of us got on a Zoom before this Zoom and we were like, just see where we were all at, because it can make what's going on right now can make us all feel so small. And it's like real lives being lost and real conflict in our country and real consequences that certainly all of us on this Zoom and most of our listeners will be dealing with the fallout of this moment for the rest of our lives. And so feeling all of those things, but also very grateful for the public, but very, very kind of angry and disgusted and nervous. Yeah. Sorry, is it really real there?
No, that's what we want. This is what we want.
Like, but art!
But like, yes, it's distressing in a chaotic day. And yet I feel like there's a moment where artists can actually respond in a crisis. And you did that. Like, you spent the last however many months responding to a crisis. And now, like, the work is not done. But the work is not done. But will it ever be done?
Thank you for asking us and making space for how we're feeling. I'm going to be quiet because my collaborators are so dope and they should respond. Yeah.
No, I definitely felt it was a roller coaster every day. And I think our piece kind of tries to capture the roller coaster of 2020, which apparently we're not quite out of, because today was a good day for the Georgia Senate races. And then to experience both the high and the extreme low sort of feels like in the pocket of what we made. So
yeah, I mean, what was nice, even when we were working on the piece, the year, has been so tumultuous in so many ways. So it felt nice to work on a piece that was about that experience. It was in some ways like almost a kind of like therapy. It was like we got to make art that was about what was happening. And then today, it just, there's so much history happening every day, it feels like. But it was really nice, at least with this particular piece, to work on something that kind of spoke to the moment.
Yeah, and I at least feel just like today was so distressing, it was so chaotic, and there was this part of me that felt, well, I won't be in a theater with people tonight, but I'm going to be on Zoom with people, and it just, feel a little less alone just in this moment of such isolation when there's so much chaos happening. So thank you for also being here and being a part of this, conversation and the festival. And, we're just so thrilled to be able to present this piece, but also really support you as artists and art makers in this moment of crisis when the crisis is just continuing. So those at home, if you want to chat in questions, by all means, but I did want to try and ask a little bit, because when I was watching the piece, blown away, breathtaking, just like exactly what I needed to see when I watched it. And there felt like this moment of like breath of peace. Like then it was all of a sudden you're in the green world, the masks are off, and I felt it in my body. I felt this emotional response to that. So I was wondering if you could talk about like like how that felt to be there, but also just kind of that choice dramaturgically. Yeah.
Peter, what do you think?
Um, it it was like one of the biggest gifts that I could have imagined. Um, uh, just going back to what Tyler had said about like making something that was so immediate, right? And that was so close to the time that we were in, and then to be able to go upstate and like when that kind of experience is really the shut off, like we worked really hard and quarantined and made sure that we were safe before we went up there, but to share space with other people, to share space with the collaborators and to like breathe the same air and to be outside a computer was like so emotional. And yeah, I just never want to take that for granted again.
It was crazy because we started working on the piece in August, and Tavy and Tyler helped Peter and I set up this kind of weekly cadence. Every Monday, we would be online together, working on the script, playing songs that Peter and I had written the week before. Tavy and Tyler gave us assignments. And so we engaged in August in this like very long virtual process, which I've definitely never done before. And then we went and shot in November. So from August to November, we were completely virtual. And then all of a sudden we were just like together. And it was hard at first. I wish I could sit here and be like, it was so easy to just fall back into it. But it really does make you think, just kind of calling back to what Peter said, like there's so much of what our life before COVID looked like that I feel I took for granted. Being in rehearsals, being comfortable around people, sharing breath with people, audiences, like, and all of a sudden we had to go and live in this like space together in order to make it done. And there was a couple hours when we first got up there where I had to just relearn how to be around people. And thankfully my collaborators are very patient and generous. And then once we got in the swing of it, it just made me miss theater, and it made me empathize so much with so many people in our business across the country, not just in New York. Theater is not just about New York, but all over the country and world who are not able to work. Costume designers, box office workers, so many people make our business possible. And it's like such a gift to be able to work. And when we were up there filming, I felt guilty, I felt like, I hope we can all get back to making things together very soon.
And also, I'll also say that Tavy and I are married, and that's why we are together now, and we have been together the whole pandemic. Just to throw that out there.
We're not breaking COVID.
Yeah, we're not breaking any rules.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I see Mark Russell's comment about how this piece gives him hope. And, I really felt like I was experiencing that when I watched it. It just felt like you hear the frenetic energy, the beginning of the pandemic. I feel like you capture it so well. It's as if you captured it in real time, which you basically did. And then there's just the escape, but also the escape upstate, but also you don't run away from the crisis. You're still in it, and you're adapting within it and making art within it. And I think for me, that's what brought me hope. Yeah, but of course the process of making this, you guys are theater artists, and like, whoa, we're on a screen right now. So I know like Tyler and Tavy, you would not think watching this that this was like your first film because it's so amazing and so polished, but like, my gosh, if you want, could you kind of open the back curtain and tell us a little bit about like what it was like transitioning from theater into film, mixed media, performance, concert piece?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say, I think we definitely set out to sort of make our own version of a film. I think we were pretty clear that we weren't going to make some Scorsese. Like, we knew we had to use the skills that we had. So, and our skills are improvisation and collaboration. So even though Tyler and I are directors, I feel like these titles it was a super collaborative. We're all four very close friends. We all went through the same training program. And share a common language. And I think what was kind of amazing is we were all pretty new to filmmaking. I mean, Peter's been in a bunch of movies and TV shows, but in terms of the making side, like we knew we could come in, we knew what our story was. We had booked this Airbnb, which we'd only seen photos of. And so we're inside the space being like literally for a couple days, just being like, let's shoot this here, let's do it there, in collaboration with our incredible DP, Jess Coles. And improvising inside the space, the thing that theater artists do, and having juicy conversations and yes-anding each other. And, I think we all were inside of it and moving through it as theater artists inside of this other medium, which I think was successful.
Yeah, and then I suppose, and then there were just like sort of technical aspects that were very new to us, or even administrative stuff like getting insurance for the film, like all of that, making sure that, during a pandemic, making sure that everyone was being safe when we went to go shoot. And then during the post process, when we had our editors, Josiah Davis and Lowell Thomas, who are so amazing and like so talented and like just wonderful people, and working with them and dealing with, like technical mishaps. It's like, ooh, this file didn't get transferred, and just like stuff like that you don't necessarily deal with in theater, but you're kind of taught to roll with the punches in a lot of ways. Like nothing ever goes perfectly, So I don't know. Like it was like every day's a school day. You know what I mean? Like you're always learning. And this one, I felt like we learned a lot, but also like, yeah, it also gave me so much. I don't know about if confidence is the right word, but maybe hope. Maybe Mark is right. It gave me being able to work on something during this time and learn some new skills and flex some old muscles that I haven't been able to flex since like last February was like really great. It was actually like it was the best thing for us to do right now, I think.
That's great. It really comes across in the piece that there's this love, there's this care, there's this hope. And I also see the friendship within it. Like I know from our Zoom production meetings that you all know each other. But I feel like that comes across in the film in such an organic way. So Peter and Whitney, could you kind of talk about like your friendship and like how that collaboration blossomed into, because you're trained as actors, but you're clearly like so multi-talented. So like, tell us how you did it.
Well, go for it.
Well, like Tiffy said, we went to the same grad school, Brown Trinity, up in Providence, Rhode Island, and I was a couple of years ahead of Whitney in the training program, and then Tabby was the year in between us, so she was like this 1, 2, 3.
And Tyler was the associate artistic director whilst we all were there, so maybe we kind of all owe this. It's like Tyler might like is secretly maybe the puppeteer, because I was thinking about the other day, because he really is the constant, because Peter came in, he was a third year, I was a first year, and Timmy was a second year, and MFA programs are interesting. Sometimes you connect with people across years, sometimes you don't, and I feel like the three of us were passing and then on our way, but Tyler and the theater were so supportive of me, I'll say individually, throughout my development. I went in an actor and came out a director, multi-hyphenate. So he is, I have to say thanks to Tyler because he was very supportive along the way. But yeah, we started at Brown Trinity. Shout out to that program and to the incredible faculty there and the way that they encourage people to study multiple disciplines. But I remember one of our mentors, Brian Murtis, I feel like we have to give him a shout out. He runs this thing called Lake Lucille with his incredible wife, Melissa Kievman, and they do checkup every year. They, in fact, are part of Under the Radar. They did an incredible thing at Joe's Pub last season in the festival. And there was a year where I was just kind of playing the piano all day for a few days. And Peter was acting in the thing. And this was 2000 and, I don't know, it was a bit ago.
It was 2000 and
16 or 17. And he was like, I do music, you do music, let's talk. And we started talking then, and luckily we still are talking and making. But it's interesting because we both like to act, we both like to make music and write, and I feel like CAPSULE, we're very grateful to the public because the first time we really just were like, let's just get alone in the room and see everything we're capable of. What is everything we're capable of right now in response to the moment that we're in, to the best of our ability. And Tavy and Tyler really pushed us to make it the best that we could.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that Under the Radar has been in cahoots with Whitney for a while, and then to also be able to bring in the three of you, I know that at least during this pandemic time has been such a blessing, and I really hope that there's this world where we can do a live performance. So is there an idea of this show becoming something live? Are there other shows you have in mind of working together or not?
I mean, definitely. I always like to say, and you guys are so polite and muted. You don't have to talk with me, but
I'm gonna unmute. I'm just gonna unmute.
Make
Great.
them unmute. Like, we wrote this. The script reads like a concert play. I always say, I'm saying it all the time, that Passing Strange changed my life when I saw it. And I feel like when I saw that piece, I saw the power of multimedia. I saw the power of music in an honest way. I was at a show that I actually wanted to be at, that felt alive and in dialogue with the now. And ever since then, I feel like I've been structurally chasing that as a maker when I'm not directing other people's work. And so we want to do Capsule live. I think what it will bring live will be kind of incredible, because that's Peter and I are musicians first. That's the funny thing about both of our stories, is we both started off as musicians, and I hope that we have the opportunity to.
Yeah.
Which actually leads to this amazing question that I kind of know an inside scoop on, but I get to ask, are y'all going to make an album?
Peter?
We did. We have, and like any day now, any second now, it'll be available on all of the streaming things like iTunes and Spotify and Amazon and Tidal and things like that. But next week, also just keep in mind that we're going to be doing a listening party for our album too. So all the details to come, but we're going to find like a kind of proper way to throw this music out into the world.
Yes, the chat got very excited to hear that there's an album. So this is great.
Oh my God. Also, if you're out there, please ask us questions. Dear God, the only good thing about this Zoom time is that you get to interact with people's questions. So
we have one that says, how much of the text was improvised or not?
I mean, almost none of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when we were up there, we were discovering like visual things and setting things. I mean, we discovered the last swing set scene that's at the very end of the movie, because what we had thought would work wasn't really working. But yeah, I guess text-wise, no, nothing really should.
Yeah, it was all pretty much in the script, I think, for the most part. Yeah.
All the words.
Visual stuff we really had to chase, because like Tavy said, there were ideas, I'm like sitting around in my room going crazy whatever month, and I'm like, this visual will be cool. And we get up there and Tavy and Tyler were like, actually abandon that. But the text we kind of, Peter and I wrote and locked, and that script, hopefully we can make available to other people to make their own versions of Capsule. And that, please reach out if you're interested. I'm happy to share.
I'm just already picturing like all these different, very cool like variations of Capsule starting to pop up, and it sounds amazing. So everybody hit up Whitney White.
Yeah. I'll also say, like, depending on what happens with the live version, if you haven't seen either Peter or Whitney perform live, like, they are such dynamic performers, like both as musicians and actors. So like, I don't know, like, I think the movie is so great, and I think it showcases them in a really wonderful way. And then they're so kind of just like vibrant and dynamic on stage too. So I don't know, if it ever happens on stage, people should check it out because they're really good.
I'll also say most of New York knows Whitney as a director and have not really seen what an incredible performer. I mean, it's just such a, like, undeniable and incredible that she's so good at so many damn different things.
Hey, chill. Cool. Next question from the interwebs. Ask us. What do you want us to spill? What do you want to know? Tell us.
While I'm waiting for people to figure out what these great questions are, Whitney, you and I talked early on in the pandemic about, like, I was like, make something for my salon, and you're like, absolutely. But at that time, you said you'd been writing songs every day. It was just like how you were dealing with it. So, like, does any of that kind of infiltrate itself into this process?
Yeah, actually, I feel like it's worth, Peter, we should say, like, 100% when you were talking to me earlier, Peter and I have another piece we're kind of working on that's called R&J that the public also is going to be unrolling sometime, in the future. But I feel like the shutdown, for me, the shutdown happened on the 13th. I was like in a rehearsal, had to face this incredible cast of people, didn't know what to do with myself. And Peter and I feel like it's fair to say we honestly just started sharing songs like in a manic way, like every other day we were sending each other song recordings. I made this, will you do this? I made this. And I think it quite clearly was a coping mechanism and maybe an addiction to work and an inability to understand how to pause, but at least we had each other in that moment. And so we were building this really large kind of cachet of sounds. Some were songs, some were sounds. Please interject anytime you want, Peter. But that started like March 15th, and that ran up until now, an hour ago. And so a lot of that music ended up in the film, and then some stuff we made new, and then some of it we hope to put in other places. So when you asked earlier, are we working on other things? We're trying to entrap Tavy and Tyler as we speak. Because there's so much more material. And Peter, I have to shout out Peter, he produced this music. So I sit at home with my guitar and piano or whatever and send him a crappy voice memo. And then we got in a room together and I kind of wish we had, I think I do have some footage of him doing it, but it's wild. He goes in and you should talk about it because I think it's a very one of a kind thing about our piece that our directing team was really up there the whole time and a part of our complete writing process. And the two of us really made that music. But yeah, it's fascinating to hear him talk about how he produces it and see him do it.
It was such a joy to be able to do that with someone in the same space again, like we've said. But I just feel like at this point that Whitney and I have a pretty deep shared kind of musical vocabulary and language together. And when I hear something, I'm so inspired. I'm like, oh, I think yes, and I feel like this. I think this is the idea that you're pointing at, or it feels very intuitive and very easy and fluid to make music together, and such a joy to actually have an ongoing kind of active collaboration with somebody during a time when we're all so remote and I don't know, isolated.
Well, and you can feel the sense of now. I know I talked about it earlier, but just in theater, things are actually, it takes a while from when somebody writes something, you all know, until it actually is on stage for an audience. And this, just watching it, I just was yes, this is not long ago, and time being so weird right now, when was yesterday, when was last week, but being able to just kind of have I was it's like a time capsule. And then I was oh, they called it capsule. This is intentional. This is the point. And it really, I really do think that this is going to be something. And it was, when I went back, I don't think it's going to be a thing where I go back and I'm oh, my anxieties of the time. This is re-earthing that. It actually did feel like a breath. It felt like giving, some hope to it, and just kind of artists trying to make some art in this moment in a way that was beautiful, and it wasn't stressful, even though the world has been so stressful. So thank you for making it for us, at least for me. So a couple questions before we have to wrap it up. One of them, which song was the first written, and does the structure of the piece at all mirror the timeline sequence in which they were composed?
Oh my God. What was the first? It was Monster. You wrote Monster.
I think I wrote that pretty early on after the lockdown started. So I think that's probably the first one. But that's such a great question. But it didn't necessarily follow chronologically. The songs don't appear in the time that they were written. But I do think that we were just kind of creating a foundation, or just trying to build a world and figure out what are the sounds of this thing, and then kind of being piecemeal putting things in their right places as we saw them.
And then the last song definitely was the second try, the one where it was all John Wick. And also shout out to John Wick. You really helped me through this quarantine thing. That was not fabricated. We spent days watching John Wick virtually. Got to analyze that later. But the last one was that song, The Second Try. That was definitely like, that was like a week before we were supposed to go out of state. And I sent it to TV, Teller, and Peter, and I was like, can you put it in? Can you put it in? But an interesting thing is a lot of the text from the piece that you heard, it's kind of expanded from our text chain. So we went back, and I think it was Tavy's idea we looked at our entire text chain from like March 13th to the day we started working on it. And it was so wild and up and down. And we kind of used that as a blueprint for along with the very disturbing news cycle that punctuated our individual inner lives, to devise the text, write the text.
I'm sure that that's like a familiarity with so many people, of like all of their correspondences being so clearly delineated by these massive cultural events. Like it's kind of tapping into this kind of collective consciousness thing that we're dealing with in the film itself, which I find really cool.
Okay, so I think this is time for one last question. So we've spent so much of our lives lately on Zoom, but like, how will your collaborative process be positively impacted by working together in this way? And like, will there be things from here that you take forward? And yeah.
I mean, I'll say one thing. I don't know if this is answering the question exactly, but we did, before we went upstate, when we were all basically quarantining, we were kind of getting just some Zoom like pickups and footage. So like we basically had just like a Zoom open for like the whole day, and so like Peter and Whitney would like pop on and like do something, and then like Tavy and I would kind of be like stalking, like our camera would be off, but we'd be like checking it out and like watching them, and then just like having that experience of almost like living together, and like, or just having like a room that you could always just kind of like go to and work on the piece, or just like say hi to your collaborators, was something that I definitely liked. I might have just been like kind of lonely, you know what I mean? Like, but like I definitely was like I like that a lot.
It was like the closest I felt like I had gotten to the dream of like living in an artist commune.
Yeah.
Where we were just with each other all day. Great.
Well, great. Oh yeah, Whitney, what?
No, I think I just the communication, because we were apart, we had to communicate more in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I asked more questions. I felt this about this Audible thing I did recently too. I had to ask people questions and take that at faith, because normally when you're in the room, you can read a lot of other data to get information, how someone's moving, if they're sweaty, if they look tired, if they look irritable, I'll back off a bit. If they seem alert, I'll really come hard at them. And so there were so many times I had to be like, how are you feeling? How does this feel? Does this work to you? And you had to kind of just like probe. I feel like there was a lot of probing, and I'd be interested in finding a way to keep some of that just like communication and IRL process, because it probably would help.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for making the piece, and also coming here to have this conversation. I know next week we will have another one where we will talk exclusively about John Wick and its relationship to CAPSULE. So for those at home who are dying to know, please turn in next week, where Whitney will be delivering her dissertation that's in the works on
Peter, and into it. It's not just me.
And everyone who's watching, thank you so much. You know, we can't see you, but we feel the community, which is really what we kind of need on this day. So I hope you all watch the rest of the Under the Radar Festival, and I hope you watch CAPSULE every single day until it's no longer on. But we're run till January 17th. So thanks to Tyler, Tavy, Peter, and Whitney.
And Kelly, just want to give a shout out to you, because you were such a help throughout this whole process, and
yes.
Just a real like gift. So just thank you so much for everything.
And to Mark Russell,
Absolutely.
And the incredible staff at the Public, and to the Public Theater, of course, for giving us a chance at this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy to. It was a gift to work with you all. Okay, so with that, we'll do our thing where we wave goodbye, is what we're supposed to do. All right, thanks everybody.
Bye.
Bye.